Greetings, everyone, and welcome to ACEDS Data Unmasked, streaming live on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. My name is Mike Quartararo. I am the president of ACEDS. Today, we will be joined shortly by Kevin Golas, Managing Director of Advisory Services at Haystack. Kevin is an accomplished cybersecurity professional with more than 20 years of experience. He works with Haystack clients providing advice and guidance, mostly in cybersecurity engagements. And Haystack, of course, is a professional services organization that provides e-discovery, information governance, and cybersecurity services in the legal sector and beyond. Frankly, you can go to HaystackID.com to learn more about the Haystack offerings. But Haystack is also a valued partner of ACEDS. We like to showcase what our partners are doing, talk to industry experts like Kevin, and understand some of what they're doing, the latest trends in the industry, and so forth. So let's get into it. Kevin, thanks for making time to join us today.
Thank you.
Welcome to Data Unmasked. I always like to start with a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your career journey, how you found yourself in the e-discovery space. Let's start there.
Yeah, so I wish I could say it was all scripted. It kind of just fell into place, right? So kind of working at T-Mobile, starting off with forensics, really being at the forefront of forensics. Started working at a forensics company that then got into e-discovery, kind of developing e-discovery platforms, stood up a professional services, learned forensics, learned e-discovery, got into cyber, and then kind of been more into the technology evolution as well, helping each one of those kind of solutions or industries kind of evolve faster, evolve better, and then evolve more securely. So that's what I've been pretty much doing the last 20, 25 years of my professional career.
Awesome. And couldn't have been smarter moves. I mean, the world of cyber and infosec and all that stuff has really ballooned in recent years. And so kudos to you for making the move. So you recently joined Haystack. Tell us about your role. Tell us what you do. What excited you about joining Haystack?
Yeah. So the role of managing director really interested me coming on board at Haystack. I know Haystack is doing a lot of litigation support, a lot of e-discovery services, a lot of managed review, and they're also really expanding out their advisory services. Recently, we were in the news with the TikTok ISI Independent Security Inspector that we won. I really focus a lot of my time on that. But what really interests me is that they were kind of driving the market, clearly in e-discovery, right? And technology and evolution and speed to review and speed to deliverables, but then kind of taking that technology and that workflow and putting that into the cybersecurity IR space. And even, like I said, with the ISI inspector and some of the CFIUS stuff that we're doing as well, they're really having a broad portfolio, utilizing all of the workflow and technology and process from what they've learned and really perfected in the e-discovery space and a managed review, expanding that into the global advisory services. So it was kind of getting my foot in the door at the right time, I feel, like I said, with the TikTok really being a huge uplift.
And it's really, all this really comes down to like what I like to call just data management, right? Whether you're on the forensic side, the e-discovery side, cyber, it's all about understanding what happened with this data. What do we need it for? What are we going to do with it? What are we learning from it?
Yep.
What are some of the biggest challenges that enterprises are facing today in terms of data management?
I think some of the biggest challenges, as you know, before COVID, everyone had a laptop, people were going into the office, cloud was talked about, but not really a thing. And then like over a weekend, everyone kind of went to the cloud. Everyone went to remote management, right? And everyone kind of panicked. How do we do this? And where is this data going to reside? And how do we have VPN? How do we do this? I was on the forensics and e-discovery, or on the forensics and cyber side of the house when we did that. And it was a mess trying to figure out who's going to access what, where are they going to be? How do we access this from a collection standpoint? So, what I've seen is having the cloud become really the transformation or pivotal point a lot of data is in the cloud. How do you protect that? Who owns that data? You have an S3 bucket, then you have a Snowflake data storage. You have data all over the proverbial cloud. How do you manage it? Who's the data custodian to it? Are there data classifications to it? So I think the biggest challenge is understanding where your data is, who owns that data, and then the governance over that data and where it resides. Because now, as you know, which I'm sure we'll get into, there's data governance, there's data privacy, and then where does that data reside? Because in certain countries, it can't leave. And in certain countries, other people from outside that country can't view it. So it just opened up, in my mind, the cloud really opened up a lot of kind of Pandora's box on privacy and kind of data ownership of it.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree with you more. The move to the cloud has changed the industry. We talk about generative AI as and yeah, that'll have an impact. But I think the move to the cloud is the most significant change in many years. But I read an article while we were preparing, and I read an article in which you were quoted that the study found that 62% of information security professionals don't know where their sensitive data is. That's a shocking number to me.
Yeah.
Why do you suppose this continues to be such a pervasive issue?
I think, like I said, when you go in and you ask like IT, CISOs or IT professionals, okay, we're going to come in and do an assessment. Where is your critical data for your company? Where is that at? How do I protect that? How do I know where it is? A lot of them, they'll give you an answer, but then they don't realize that, oh, that's right, we just started this project. That's all in the cloud. We have third-party contractors that are helping us with that. And they kind of lose focus. Oh, that's right. This data now resides over in this cloud aspect. Like keep talking about cloud. Is it in Azure? It is in AWS. Is it in the other cloud, Oracle? Right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have good governance over that, and they really don't know where all of that data is. Because, like I said, when you go to the cloud, you do have a lot of there's a lot of how do I put this? The development teams might need certain resources. So they go to, I don't want to give out names, but they go to a hosting firm that they're used to because it gives them the operational needs that they have. Their CISO might not know anything about it. And it's one of those, I don't want to keep saying shadow IT, but when the IT folks don't know about all of the different projects, because all you need is a credit card or a PO to get these set up. And then you're up and running and no one knows anything about it because it's just a URL that you go connect to. There's no way to do any kind of data management of that. So when you walk in, 62% will know where their known data is. It's the unknown data where that resides that they don't really know. And it's really hard with SaaS-based applications. Like, again, a URL that goes and gets to it, and you can upload files, and it just kind of gets out of control when you don't really have good controls of visibility into where all your projects, where all your data resides.
So given this understanding that the majority of organizations are not managing their data in the most ideal way, I'm trying to be politically correct here.
Yep.
Well, I mean, what advice do you give to clients, one, but also what advice would you give to those listening today who know this is an issue and want to get ahead of it? Where should they start within their organization to help bring to bear really sound data management policies and strategies?
Yeah, I think the biggest impact that we could have on this is establishing clear ownership of that data. Always having that data custodian and that ownership of that allows for multiple things, meaning they can identify where their data ownership is, making sure the correct security, access to it, and accountability of that particular data set. So it doesn't really matter if it's now in a cloud that maybe the IT folks don't know about it, but if you assign that data owner to that, they then have to inherently put those security risk and controls in place and identification, and that information then can flow back into the data governance kind of folks to make sure that We're changing our passwords. We're making sure of access control. We're making sure we have monitoring and visibility into where that data resides. When you don't have ownership is when it becomes kind of the wild, wild west, because then no one's accountable for that. And no one's really accountable for putting those controls in place and making sure that we have the policies that the company might have also into this third party kind of repository.
Yeah, and I remember back in my law firm days when we'd go into a new organization with a new matter, and they're always so proud to hand out like an org chart. And I say, okay, that's great. I love knowing the people involved. That's important. But now tell me where their data is stored. Tell me who owns the data, who owns this resource, that resource, who's in charge of backups, just trying to get a handle on it. The organizations are thinking about, oh, these are our people. They can explain things. But, and we teach this in our courses. We teach data mapping. We teach people how to lay out just a graphical representation of who owns a data asset.
Yep.
And I think that's critical, and more organizations need to invest the time in doing that. Let me pivot for a second, because we talked a little bit about the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think one of the more prevalent phenomenon to arise is the introduction of Microsoft 365 and everybody moving to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's always changing. There's some question about some of the tools and how they're not set up for litigation, for investigations, for regulatory inquiries. So how do you advise clients to adapt to some of these, the latest and greatest in Microsoft 365, let's just call it that, to ensure data security, to ensure data integrity, governance, and compliance? What are you telling your clients about Microsoft 365?
Yeah, we actually have a service around M365, and to your point, it's like any other platform, even not just Microsoft. Let's say the platform has 20 things that it does really well. It integrates with it, has a really good workflow. If you don't know how those 20 things relate to your business and your workflow, so training, understanding what that is, awareness of that, education to how kind of defining what that actual platform is going to do, how it's going to help you in your business. You talk about law firms, right? You want to understand, by utilizing M365, we can then take a matter, we can bring it in, we can use Copilot to go do certain aspects, because Copilot, as you know, is an AI. Utilizing the AI, but having a kind of identified workflows, because, and let's be honest, when people use platforms, and I'm a victim of that myself, I know it to do one thing really well, maybe two things, and that's all I use. I didn't know it can use 5 other things that I just didn't know about. You know what I mean? And when you have training on it, or you take that certification, or kind of the company forces you to kind of go through that awareness training, you then realize, oh, I can use this for 3, 4, and 5 aspects of my workflow. It'll actually make me more efficient, and everything stays inside of one ecosystem. So that earlier conversation that we had about the data kind of leaving, it all stays inside of one platform, and you're more efficient. And then you're utilizing the new technology as they come out with it on like a monthly basis. Now it seems like they're coming out with new workflows, new plugins, new AI features. But inside of that, like M365, since that's what you asked about, I really think that ecosystem is a really good ecosystem. I think there's a lot of good workflow. And then, like I talked about with Copilot, really kind of bringing all that together with a lot of new AI enhancements to really kind of like help bolster that workflow and those deliverables.
You mentioned Copilot and Gen AI in generically, and these Gen AI tools are certainly going to make people more productive, enable them to get things done more quickly. What are some common ways that you see legal teams using Copilot, and how can teams ensure that they're using them in a secure, transparent way that actually enables some of the workflows that we need as e-discovery professionals downstream?
Sure. And I, like any other AI tool, Copilot really allows you to kind of like have the same kind of structured workflow as it relates to documents that are being created or briefs that are being done. But then you can also kind of search all emails pertaining to a particular thing and bubble up what's actually important for, like, going through, I'll just say, millions of lines of email, bubbling up what's actually important to that, the context of that. It's amazing what it can do with like natural language processing and all the kind of under the hood that this AI does. It's amazing how it can actually, what's the word I'm looking for? Come up with the actual context and meaning of that email. If it was derogatory, if it was in, kind of tongue in cheek, it can really kind of pick out the verbs and nouns in those kind of emails and really bubble that up, as well as kind of look at, like, you can go through certain case law and see how that pertains to what you're looking for. It just kind of gives you that ability to be way more efficient, to cover a lot more information, and then also kind of look for certain aspects, like that predictive text, right? You can go look and see what actually is in all of this data and kind of bubble up what you're looking for very quickly, very efficiently, and then kind of put that into kind of the document that you're looking to, the document that you're looking to create. And it really gives you that kind of, so what I'm looking for, it kind of gives you that consistency and gives you that kind of really efficient workflow when you're going through that, utilizing Copilot or AI.
And just one follow up on that from a security perspective. My guess is, and I don't have any, evidence to say one way or another, but I think people would reach the conclusion that who better to secure my data than Microsoft? Is that a fair statement?
I think it is. I mean, again, Microsoft has very good security, right? They've been doing this for a long time. They even, everyone now is starting to use AI against AI, right? Because the hackers have AI and the bad guys have AI. We now have AI to go pick up on it just as fast as they're creating it. So it's kind of like a cat and mouse game, right? But Microsoft definitely has it. And like, again, when you're keeping everything inside the same ecosystem, if you were to use M365, but then for certain AI features, you're using a third party, now that you're as strong as your weakest link, which is that third party. Keeping everything inside the M365 ecosystem really enhances your security. And then Microsoft has a really good security workflow from, detection on the endpoint to detection in the cloud to their Sentinel SIM. So they have a really good workflow as that as well. And like I said, every tool that you're using inside of there can play into that ecosystem that they have for security.
Yeah, I agree. What's next for your team, Kevin? What's anything exciting coming up on the horizon you want to share?
For what I can share, like I said, Haystack is really looking to expand their services. Like I talked earlier about that ISI TikTok engagement that we got, probably leveraging more services around that, really kind of taking the technology and the workflows that we've currently have and really making them better. Like, there's just certain things that we're looking into. There's certain tools that can kind of, speed up review process 10 times, right? There's a lot of little things that we're doing on that, but really just kind of expanding out the services. We talked about M365, cyber IR, MDR, more on the data governance. So I think we're putting a lot more emphasis on our advisory services and really building that out, utilizing kind of the infrastructure we built on the e-discovery and managed review side of the house.
It's funny because I've been saying for years that we need to focus more on the left side of the EDRM, because that's really where, like, if you get that foundation right there, if you know what data you have, where it is, who controls it, and so forth, it's going to make all these other processes, whether it's for incident response, e-discovery, investigations, whatever, it's going to make all those processes better. So kudos to you and your team. Industry events, you got anything coming up? What are you looking forward to in the industry event space?
Well, like I said, this is a little bit outside the e-discovery space, but I'll be at Black Hat. So that's always a good event. And, the other team members will definitely be at a lot of the lawyer and litigation support events. But yeah, I mean, that's what we have coming up in the next month.
All right, awesome. Kevin, how should listeners get in touch if they're interested in reaching out to you?
I think the best way would be through LinkedIn. You can reach out to us that, or through the website, always at HaystackID.com.
Awesome. This has been great. Kevin, thanks for making time for us today. Thanks for sharing your trends, your views, your perspective. I appreciate it. Everyone else, if you are interested in our short form video interviews like this one, you can find Data Unmasked, and we are ACEDS live streams in your LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook feeds, or you can check out the ACEDS YouTube channel where you can watch previous interviews. Thanks again, Kevin, for joining us today. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day. Be kind to one another.
Thank you.